I've been watching you check on me. Can't stand the idea of being the ancestor of the worst criminal that ever walked on this earth, can you?
Why yes, I've fallen down an obscure villain rabbit hole. This one has pirates. Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, reviews comics new and old, to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Supergirl and her vanishing villains, or villains that didn't really seem to make much of a lasting impression. Taking a look at them and examining, did they deserve more? Last time we looked at Lara, a Kryptonian scientist who seemingly solved Kandor's we can't get unshrunk problem but was solely focused on Supergirl. One commenter pointed out something worth noting, which is that despite tormenting Kara in some truly unique ways, for the two only actually met twice, with the bulk of the interaction in the Bronze Age after Lesla had gone mad. Because the only time they talk before that is when Lesla is masquerading as Lena Luthor, or Lena Thorel at the time. Now they felt that this made Lesla a weaker villain because they didn't have some kind of intimate connection, at least not one that Kara knew about. I however felt that was something that made them a bit stronger and a bit more unique. What a chance to push her over the edge when the reveal finally did happen, because Supergirl wouldn't even know who she was. It's a different dynamic than the whole "we're the same, you and I," or "I love you but I hate you" that you often get thrown around. Tell me what you think, and of course if you missed that video I'll have a link down below and a card. Now Lesla is being mentioned not just because she was the most recent video time recording, but because Lesla would inspire other people to go after Supergirl, also in some truly creative and over-the-top ways. Enter Black Flame, who first debuted in Action Comics 304. She was created by Leo Dorfman and Jim Mooney, and the story she debuts in is called The Maid of Menace, and it's from 1963, because Supergirl was the Maid of Might, which always just makes me think that she can clean incredibly well. I know it's meant to be a shorthand for maiden, but I can't help where my mind goes. I'm sure for some of you it goes to the cosplayer. Anyway, The Maid of Menace, Black Flame, go!
Black Flame, have mercy. I'm parched, dying of thirst. In heaven's name, give me the water.
I enjoy that in the Silver Age you can point to more than one instance of this happening. Black Flame's costume, into it. So let's see how Kara gets into this predicament, or whether the teaser page is lies. We open on Linda on a beach date with Dick Malvern. Remember from last time, he loves how she can roast a weenie. He's buried her in sand, which is actually stretching her out a little bit, because Clark is off planet, so she's supposed to be handling any emergencies that happen Earthside, but now she's buried in sand. And clearly if she pushed all that sand off her, it would reveal that she is Supergirl. There's no other explanation. She's using her telescopic vision to look around when she suddenly spots a mysterious flying figure headed towards the Coast Guard, who are towing in a gambling vessel run by racketeers. And that mysterious flying figure uses her heat vision to free the racketeers.
How about that? Looks like we crooks have a super dame to help us, just the way Supergirl helps the cops.
The Dame of Damnation. Dame of Destiny. D is for Dame. As Supergirl tries to watch from her sandy prison, she sees that she escapes to the time stream, going somewhere else in time.
Don't blame yourself, dear. You did your best.
Did she though? Suddenly a news flash. Comet the Super Horse, and at one point Kara's super stalker, has gone berserk and is destroying monuments. Well, Supergirl can go to this one. No sand anywhere. It's our Super Dame. She's taking control of Comet, is making him destroy the statue. This to get Supergirl's attention. And when she has it and Kara asks who she is, she carves the name to a cliff. Black Flame. Black Flame tells Supergirl to follow her if she wants to know more about her, and leads her to a time machine laboratory, which she says she uses for her trips through time.
I come from the future, the year 4000 to be exact. The device you see is a Mento Dome, which contains the recorded secret of my origin.
What do heroes and villains do if the person they're trying to tell their origin to just doesn't want to hear it? Just stops them cold with a no thanks, don't care.
Put on that dome, and your mind will see events in the future which will tell you all about me. It could be a trap, but I must take the chance and put it on. If I'm to fight this character, I must know all about her.
I mean, not really. It depends what kind of fight. With the Mento Dome on, Supergirl sees a ship headed for a planet, a pirate planet.
Admiral Clark reporting, greetings to Queen Black Flame. Our raid on Galaxy 12 was a complete success.
I really want to know more about the brain plant from the vegetable world of Chorus that they brought back to their queen.
Great Krypton! Black Flame is the queen from a pirate planet in the future!
Black Flame claims her subjects are the most evil criminals and outcasts the universe has to offer, and that she has designed super weapons for them so that they may plunder and pillage and return to her with a cut. But all of this is nothing. She wants to humiliate Earth, the source of her humble origins. She was exiled from there years prior, and now she's summoned the Earth's ambassadors.
Black Flame, you were born on Earth, but you were a disgrace to the planet once you're home. The World Council refuses to pay tribute to you or your scurvy crew.
A bold opening statement from the ambassador of Earth. Let's see how it plays out. In a fit of rage, Black Flame demands that a nearby moon be destroyed. This by her cosmotronic cannon, which is not the lawnmower that is mowing the lawn outside. I'm sure the cosmotronic cannon sounds much cooler.
Our cosmotronic cannon cut through that moon like a piece of cheese. That's exactly what will happen to Earth unless you pay tribute.
It's piracy, but we'll have to pay it.
Well, it's extortion, but either way you have to pay it.
And to think Black Flame is Supergirl 25, and that her ancestor was the beloved Supergirl from Argo City. Ain't you ashamed to be looting your home planet? You are a descendant of the original Supergirl from 1963.
I like that they put the year there specifically, like that Supergirl, not any of those other Supergirls, not the magical totem Jimmy Olsen Supergirl.
I'm sick of hearing about that namby-pamby do-gooder.
The people of Earth in the year 4000 are a fickle lot. They start tearing down Supergirl statues. This is her fault, not any of the other people who also were in the chain of ancestors, just Supergirl.
Then you, Black Flame, are my descendant, a cold-hearted female desperado.
Please try to make her sound less cool if you're meant to be disparaging her. Desperado is a great word. It's just a cool sounding word.
Desperado.
Black Flame says she's back in Kara's time because her throne was seized and she's trying to work out how to get it back.
How do you feel being the ancestor of the future's greatest criminal? Remember, you can't change history, and if you try any tricks, I'll reveal your identity as Linda Danvers and Superman's other identity as Clark Kent.
I mean, you just said you can't change history, so that feels a bit like an empty threat. Supergirl is distraught.
All the good I'll ever do will be wasted in the year 4000. All the people of Earth will hate me.
The Legion future still likes you. Her mom provides her with some solid advice. Why not actually go check and see if anything that Black Flame has said is actually true? Kara goes to the future, but the statue's fine. That's what's really important. There's also no mention of Black Flame in any of the records, but it still makes no sense because Black Flame knows her and Superman's secret identities. My thumb just cracked so hard. She needs telepathic help, and who better than the super stalker extraordinaire Comet, the Super Horse. He's able to read Black Flame's mind enough to get impressions of Kandor, leading Kara to investigate if Black Flame is from Kandor. While Kara looks for the census chief, she encounters a dentist creating a permanent filling. Whoa, the science! Put a pin in it, it will matter. The census chief does have an idea. He thinks that Black Flame might be Zora, a brilliant scientist who is friends with Lesla Lar. Kara only really knows of Lesla. She knows that she escaped from the Bottle City and then she was disintegrated while helping the villains from the Phantom Zone. But then they check the stalker screen, the Vizzy screen, because Kandor is a surveillance state, and they see that Zora is working away in her lab. Kara then checks on the female prisoners in the Phantom Zone and they're all there, so that rules them out.
I've been watching you check on me. Can't stand the idea of being the ancestor of the worst criminal that ever walked on this earth, can you?
Kara really seems like she can't because she flies off to get some gold kryptonite. She's gonna take her powers away. Would that transfer to the offspring if that happened? Or would you then have to expose your children to gold kryptonite and then just keep doing it? Leave like one of those cryptic family notes that becomes a curse or something, like you need to get the gold rock. Now this is a ruse. Not only do we not have to ponder this question, but also the question of the morality of sacrificing all the good she could do in the present to nullify the evil Black Flame will do in the future, which is an interesting dilemma, but again, 'tis but a ruse. Kara did this in the desert and now she's feeling the heat, and Black Flame shows up to gloat and monologue at her that haha, she was never her descendant, she is Zora of Kandor. The Zora in Kandor is an android duplicate, and really, shame on Kara for not noticing. Superman has so many robots just lying around, doing his chores, going on dates with Lois for him. And the thing is, Supergirl also has her own robot, a Linda Lee robot. She used it all the time. For shame not thinking about the robot option.
I always admired Lesla Lar. When she was disintegrated, I decided to fulfill her greatest ambition myself, to escape the bottle and take Supergirl's place in the outer world.
I see Zora has a very different interpretation of take her place. The teaser does happen with Black Flame just pouring water out into the sand in front of her, but it is not to be a triumph for Black Flame. Unlike Lesla Lar, who solved the shrinking problem through some kind of Kryptonian science and array, that was not the method that Zora used. She flew through some red kryptonite in a cosmic cloud that granted wishes, and the effects of Red K are temporary at this time period, so she shrinks back down. Shouldn't the citizens of Kandor know this? They watch Clark all the time. I like to imagine they also watch him while he's working and he's just their version of the lo-fi girl. They just put on some nice lo-fi beats and just watch him write articles. Even though she's tiny, she's still super. Unfortunately for her, Kara tricked her. She didn't really use gold kryptonite, but she did go get a tiny microscopic bit and put it in her compact, and then she's able to get Zora and put her in the compact and remove her powers forever. But how did Kara realize it was Zora despite her being the only viable possibility? No, it wasn't because she too used robots or she did some research that connected her with Lesla. No, she had a filling, and no person from the future who was her descendant would have one. Supergirl takes care of her teeth, and that will be passed on through the generations. Zora vows that she'll get even. We won't actually see her again until Adventure Comics number 400. This from the year 1970. There is seemingly an appearance in World's Finest 169 in 1967, but it turns out to be Mixie impersonating her to mess with Superman, so it doesn't count. On to issue 400. This comic hails from the period where Supergirl was headlining, so being the lead story in Adventure Comics, which she did for many issues before getting her own solo series, which we covered in a retrospective. This was also during her time being handled by Mike Sekowsky for writing and art, so the period where there was the costume contest and she was wearing different costumes before eventually the hot pants became the regular costume. Issue 400 is billed as something special, the 400th issue, the 35th anniversary, and this issue has an awkward cover that I can't look at without thinking it looks like Black Flame is about to pee on Supergirl. I can't help it. Just look at it. Once you see it, it can't be unseen. Also, Kara's hips look broken. We open on Linda sewing up her costume. These costumes were a part of the plot. They would take time to explain how they were working, like this one could tear and she couldn't fly as fast because it wasn't made of an invulnerable material like her other costume. Someone is trying to get in touch with Supergirl, and the only way they could think of was to contact the local news station and have their number and address flashed in the screen at super speed. Sounds legit, air it. Kara calls the number.
It's a girl's voice. Somehow it's familiar, but I can't place it.
Maybe Black Flame just sounds different on the phone. Some people really do.
Well, there's only one way to find out what this is all about. Besides, I'm not doing anything now.
Thoughts on this costume? It's not my fave. Maybe if the gloves were shorter and the cape attached differently, but I don't know. But oh, it's a trap with El Finn, Toymaster, and the Inventor. Don't worry, you've never seen them before, and you never will again. They're helping out Black Flame to get Supergirl.
Very clever, your invention. A little psychology arouses a female curiosity.
Not even Supergirl is immune to that female trait.
That's right, men never be curious about anything, ever. Clark wouldn't even have made that phone call. He would have just eaten a sandwich. Return of Black Flame. We get the Cliff Notice backstory on Zora, skipping out on all the glory of her being a fake pirate queen, which was pretty great. She could have invented any backstory, and that was the one she came up with, the most extra. There was a planet with a skull and crossbones on it. Now we see that Zora was sentenced to prison on Kandor, again, not the Phantom Zone, for reasons. You would think they would have learned their lesson after Lesla, but I guess not. She was able to gather crystals off the ground and construct a gun. Then she took the engine room hostage. Sorry, wrong series. She escaped and flew a spaceship to the Phantom Zone. Yes. People are gonna write letters about the continuity of this issue. Get ready, because I'm gonna read them. She can only take 3 people for reasons, and so she picks 3 random criminals. But she says once she stops Supergirl, she'll come and free them all and they can conquer the Earth. And then Supergirl is landing and there's a coloring error where her costume isn't filled in, which they don't bother fixing for the digital version. I like it, it's authentic. Supergirl just walks right into this trap, gets snared in a kryptonite rope. Toymaster made a toy Streaky to rub even more kryptonite dust on her. Cause even though she could die right there because of all the kryptonite, they will not let that happen. They built a whole death trap and they aren't gonna waste it. They built a giant bowling alley and made kryptonite bowling balls. Come on, someone has to appreciate it. Look at how much fun they're having bowling. Although this is definitely not one of the better Leprechaun sequels. They need to get back to the hood. Kara keeps getting knocked over by these balls, but it's loosening the ropes.
Strike!
Yes, she's escaped, but Elf just seems to be an actual leprechaun, so he knocks her out with magic. And then Black Flame puts some gold kryptonite on her. But rather than working instantly like it usually does, it's slowly draining her abilities, and they leave her in an elaborate death trap rather than shoving some gold K down her throat and stabbing her or bashing her in with a bowling ball. She already saw the death trap, it's fine. There's a whole Phantom Zone to free. But you know, revenge, it needs to be as dramatic as possible because Kara did take Zora's powers with the gold K. Thematically, I understand. They leave toys to guard her, and she's able to take control of them telepathically and free herself. She even gets them to wash her boots to get the gold K off.
Now to see what your invention did to our late enemy Supergirl.
What, did they go to get coffee? Why not at least stay and watch it on a screen? Something. Kara captures them with toys. Embarrassing. And it's back to the zone and to prison. This story has many issues. It has a lot of fun concepts, but they would work better with different villains. Like if this was just a Toyman plot, it would make more sense. It would be random, but it would work better than what happened in this issue. It also doesn't feel very grandiose for a 35th anniversary, 400th issue. Watch Supergirl get hit with a bowling ball. Unlike some Bronze Age stories, it does manage to marry that Silver Age zaniness with a more serious tone really well. But it also seemingly has some canonical errors that can be a bit jarring, or at least it takes you a moment to think about them to see if they are errors or not. Some can be explained by readers not always being completely up to date. Like for example, why Zora can touch the kryptonite ball is a question people would ask, but that's because she lost her powers all the way in her last appearance. But that was many, many years prior, and there isn't an editor's note as to where to go back to. It also was reprinted, but that's not mentioned either. But this issue, it got some sass. Here's some sassy letters. Dear editor, since when can people fly a spacecraft into the Phantom Zone and pick up some of the prisoners? On page 6, Black Flame is holding a gun on the Phantom Zone prisoners to keep them back. Since when can a gun, even a ray gun, hurt a person in the Phantom Zone, which is in another dimension? Also, I thought that the only way people could enter or leave the Zone was with a Phantom Zone projector. I seem to remember Black Flame as being from Kandor, and surely the people she released were Kryptonians. Then why didn't they all have superpowers? Also, why weren't they affected by the kryptonite as much as Supergirl? And just how long does it take for Gold K to take effect? Judy Turner. They only actually answer one of these. Last time out, Black Flame lost her powers from exposure to Gold K, and we never said the other villains were Kryptonians. But read the next letter. Is that where the answer to the Phantom Zone is? Is it? I will read the next letter, thank you very much. Dear editor, Mr. Sikowski, you have violated some of the basic rules of the Superman legend. 1. It has always been my impression that the Phantom Zone was only used by Kryptonians for their criminals, since Jor-El perfected the machine. Nowhere else have I seen any mention of criminals of many galaxies being kept there. 2 is about the kryptonite. So we can just skip that, they answered that. 3. Supergirl should have lost all her powers as soon as she was exposed to Gold K. Now you can explain away the first mistake by saying that Superman has lent the zone projector to other worlds for their criminals, and you may have an explanation for the second. However, the third could be utilized if it were said to be a freak form of Gold K, which would somehow limit the Maid of Might's powers. See, I not only pointed out your mistakes, but gave you a possible solution for 2 of them. Imagine what I'll do if I really like an issue. So sassy. Bob Mozakis. There is one more great letter, but this is running a bit long, so I will tack that last letter onto the end. And if you want to hear the end letter sass, stay to the end. I'll put it there. This story certainly doesn't make the case for Black Flame as a credible foe. Whereas the first story saw her royally mess with Supergirl, in this one she more inconvenienced her. As Kara said, she has nothing else to do, why not go to an obvious trap? And the 3 random villains felt pretty unnecessary, and they felt like retreads, a couple of them. But that was not the end of Zora. Krypton Chronicles, go! This was a mini-series from 1981, and was written by E. Nelson Bridwell, so you know the canon will be tight. That won't be what the letters are about. For those not in the know, Bridwell was a canon fiend. The series was largely about Superman exploring his family tree, and for that, him and Supergirl took a trip to Rokan, aka New Kandor. This was a planet wherein the people of Kandor could be enlarged. It had a red sun though, so Superman had no powers there. The thing was, Rokan was not in the same dimensional plane as Earth, so the timing had to be exactly right to get there, and they had a limited window. When Supergirl and Superman get to Rokan, they are introduced to some reformed criminals, and Zora is among them, so is Shyla. Zora's last name is given here as Zora V. Lar with an asterisk, which means Bridwell has some canon truth bombs to bestow at issue's end. Zora says she's sorry. Oh, so sorry. She's not sorry. She'd do it again. I was a fake space pirate queen, the Black Flame story. That note at the end of the issue is that Zora and Lesla were so close that Lesla, who was an orphan, took on Zora's family name as her own. That's such great info and could have led to some really interesting character development if you wanted to bring both characters back. It places them in a realm where they're sisters. There's so much one could do with a revamp, but later, we'll get there. Black Flame's plan here in this series was to delay Clark and Supergirl so that they could not leave. Mostly it was to delay Supergirl so that she would have to stay there with no powers. Clark is just an added bonus. I wasn't able to suss out how long it would have been out of phase, but too long. They had to get out, and they do. That was it for Black Flame in main continuity. Time of recording. But she did appear in DC Super Friends, a comic aimed at a younger demographic and based on the toy line from Mattel. She has an appearance in issue 19 from 2009, written by Sholly Fish. We can see her at a school for villains. This series has a much more comedic tone and is a little meta. A clue? Wouldn't that make it easier for them to stop us? Why would we possibly want to send them a clue?
Because that's what villains do!
The clue they send. Chef's kiss. Roses are red. Violets are blue. We'll steal some rare animals at the Metropolis. Blank. This Zora comes from the planet Krypton and is very into bragging about how she has all the same powers as Superman.
You won't get me so easily. I have all the same powers as Superman.
Yeah, she gets captured. This one's just a fun one and done. Zora being there is really just a nice nod if you happen to be older and reading with your kids, and in terms of the villain group, she fits the role of strong character. And time of recording, that's where we are for Black Flame. There is potential for Black Flame, especially if you work in that little note about her and Lesla. They share an off-panel backstory that one could really expand upon. Zora has a different anger towards Supergirl. Whereas Lesla was jealous of all Supergirl had, Zora now, if you include that backstory, has to have seen her sister destroyed by her obsession, and Supergirl's none the wiser, because Supergirl didn't even know Lesla had it in for her. This creates an interesting space to play in, and a reason for Black Flame to want to hound Kara in such a psychological manner, to leave an imprint and then leave her with nothing. Thus avenging her sister, and along the way maybe learning she liked this villainy thing. In all fairness, there are many evil Kryptonians, so if you're gonna go that route, you do have to do something to make them stand out. Also, a lot of them are scientists. Stop it, Krypton, stop. I kinda like the idea of bringing her back as an actual pirate queen. From space. Someone who escaped Krypton and then had to find safety by becoming stronger. So she becomes a fearsome pirate warlord. Does she have powers? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe she's just surviving on her ingenuity. At some point, she could come to Earth and see the life that Supergirl had and covet it. How dare she, after how hard Zora had to work, all the people she had to betray, all the knives she has to keep under her pillow. Not the strongest, I know, but I mostly want to see Zora's black costume again. What do you think of Black Flame? What did you think was her strongest appearance? What would you do with the character, if anything? Was I too harsh on the random villain squad of issue 400? Share your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking this time today to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. As promised, last letter sass. Dear editor, in a way, it's a pity that the old style letter columns are a thing of the past, because any boo-boo finder could have a field day with adventure number 400. Note that this does not reflect on your capabilities as a writer, but merely upon your lack of experience with Supergirl. You might have done well to retain E. Nelson Bridwell as assistant editor. He's familiar with the characters and wouldn't allow such mistakes to see print. For example, you seem to have forgotten that Kandor is in a bottle in Superman's fortress, so it's rather doubtful that the guards would have space flyers, especially since they'd have superpowers outside the bottle. I don't know why I'm saying bottle that hard. And how did Black Flame and her ship get out and get enlarged normal size? With the new microwave tunnel, it's practically automatic, but you should have mentioned the problem. And what about the other three villains? They were good, in quotes, characters, even though the Toy Master was too similar to the Toy Man to be original. But they definitely weren't run-of-the-mill Kryptonian criminals. How'd they get into the zone in the first place? And why didn't they show superpowers? I enjoyed seeing Streaky again, even if only a robot, but what's with Supergirl's kryptonite dust in her fur? I know one Super Tomcat who's not going to take kindly to that. I actually know that there is a second Streaky from that time period. God, I'm so nerdy, I'm trying to answer the letter. This issue's cover was also good. I see you. I see you. I see what you like. And thanks for the credits. Keep giving them in future issues. Yes, the fact that Mike Skowski did give credit to the people who did the outfits was really awesome. Some of these letters, I love them. I love them so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.